Guess what? I've got another old gang member. Talk about holy grails. Woohoo! Yes! Got hold of the holy grail. Got hold of one of my childhood bots that I had when I was a kid. It isn't an original one, it's a knockoff one, but that doesn't matter because it's virtually the same as the one I had when I was a kid, even though it's not a genuine one, it's a knockoff one, but I don't care. I finally got one. I finally got me my G1 Megatron. But when I say G1 Megatron, you're probably thinking of this thing. This wasn't my G1 Megatron when I was a kid. Oh no. No, this is one I only picked up last year. It's the first time, only recently have I had my hands on the proper G1 Megatron. Oh no, the Megatron I had when I was a kid was totally different. But before we get into that, a little bit of a story. Yeah, I was at work the other day on my mobile phone. I put in a really vague description into eBay. I can't remember what it was. It was just something like just Transformer toys. It was a really vague description. And one of the first items that came up was this particular item. Now, I've been after one of these particular bots. And I saw it and I thought, oh, look, it's one of those. And then I looked at it and then I looked at the picture that had been used for the auction. And this bot was sat on a chunk of wood. Like a coffee table. But it wasn't a normal piece of wood. It was like a bologna slice through a gnarly tree trunk. It was like, oh, it's got a really rough edge on it. And I thought, I recognise that piece of wood. That piece of wood looks strangely familiar. It looks like the piece of wood that a certain Mr. Graham the Collector 75 does his reviews on of late. Anyway, I was umming and ahhing over it for a minute. It was on a buy it now price with free postage. And I was thinking, well, how much do I really want to pay for one of these? And it said quite clearly in the item description that this was a knockoff and that it had a manufacturing fault on it. It wasn't quite, pucker. Anyway, I thought, sod it, buy it. So I bought it. And then, when the PayPal invoice came through, whose name should be on it? Graham Waters. It's Graham the Collector 75. One of the Transformer YouTube reviewers who I worship the most. Well, I suppose that's a bit strong to say worship, but seriously, this guy, Graham the Collector 75, he's, I would say, the principal reason why I am an adult collector of transforming toys. Because what got me into Transformers as an adult was through watching his videos on YouTube. I mean, I've been watching his videos for years. At least 5 or 6 years. Well, is it 5 or 6 years I've been watching his videos? And it was through him, and then later on through a load of other, Transformers YouTube reviewers, that I got into watching Transformer reviews on YouTube. I got into, transforming robot toys. I mean, I remember I used to have some toys when I was a kid, including one of these things. Yeah, and he's been instrumental in making me become what I am today, or becoming a Transformers collector, getting into collecting Transformer toys and becoming a YouTube reviewer. So I blame you, Graham. It's all your fault. I dearly hope you're watching this video. I'm going to put enough comments on your videos because you've done 2 reviews of this toy. You've done a review of this very toy that I'm about to review and the other knockoff one that you bought. I'm going to put links in them down in the description, so if you want to watch them you can check them out yourself. Anyway, so yeah, Graham, thanks mate, you've done me a huge service in selling me this toy. You don't know what it means to me. This is a massive grail for me. I used to have one of these when I was a kid. Anyway, it was Graham. The other thing is, now Graham, his username is the Collector 75, and this toy was had on a buy it now for 75 quid, which I thought was kind of ironic, 75 quid, Graham the Collector 75. Oh, I just love it when a Transformer toy that I've bought has got, like a tinge of irony about it. It just makes it so much more delicious when you get the bot in hand. It's great. Anyway, let's go back to old gang when I was a kid. When I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. I've gone over this story no end of times. When I was a kid, I lived in Rugby. I didn't have so much money. I was only able to afford by myself, or afford, you know, like little knockoff bots from the local market, or mini auto bots. I couldn't afford to buy the big proper transforming toys that you could buy in Woolworths. But there was a shop across the street from Woolworths, a sports shop that had a toy department in the back where they stocked the Diaclone line. And I bought a couple of Diaclone bots from it, including one of these. Now I am of course referring to the Browning M-1910 gun robo. Now the original one was a Takara microchange bot from the microchange series, which is like a Diaclone line. It was the MC07. And that was the original one. And that was the one that I had. It had the Japanese writing on the box. It had the red plastic parts on the inside of the legs and stuff. It had 2 silver guns. And back then, I mean, we're talking 1985, I got this thing originally. And back then, this toy wasn't available in the UK. At least not that I know of. G1 Megatron didn't come to the UK until a few years later. So I bought one of these. Obviously, this one I've just picked up isn't a Takara original. This is the knockoff version, well, one of the knockoff versions. But anyway, when I was a kid, I had a version of this toy. Now, this is him in his gun mode. Browning M1910. Well, it's based on a Browning pistol, the M1910. And as you can see, it's got nice chrome. It's got like black plastic stock. It's got die-cast bits, and it's got a working trigger. Now, this gun does have a firing mechanism of a sort. Now, it does normally come with some little yellow plastic bullets, but I got this off Graham. When Graham got it, it only had a limited number of accessories. So it does come with the fist that has a mushroom peg on it that fits in the barrel. And it shoots. It has a firing mechanism which works off the trigger. It's quite small. If you want a size comparison, let's put it next to G1 Megatron, and as you can see, it's quite a bit smaller. And another size comparison, I've got something that most people will have. There you go. There he is next to a Combiner Wars figure. So he's quite small, but fairly well detailed. Now, obviously, I had one of these when I was a kid. To me, it was my G1 Megatron. I didn't have any Decepticon labels when I was a kid. I actually made a Decepticon symbol by getting some sticky back labels and drawing a Decepticon symbol on it and sticking it on. And I had the knockoff Diaclone Starscream as well, which I did the same thing with. And this was my Megatron. And I played with it for a couple of years until I sort of grew out of Transformers. And then I think along with the other bots that I had, I gave them away to next door neighbour, because he was a kid who was a couple of years younger than me and he was into Transformers. At least I think that's how I got rid of them. So I got rid of it. But when I became an adult collector, I wanted to get representations of the bots that I had when I was a kid, and this was one of them. Now, original ones of these go for silly money. Silly money. I have seen them for around boxed ones for around about 170, 180 quid, but I know they sometimes go for a lot more than that. The knockoff ones, this version, which I believe is the Kindam 05 or the KD05 version, and the reason I believe it's that version is because it came with a yellow gun, but more on that later. So yeah, the KD05 version comes in a box like this, which is similar to the Japanese box, but it's got English writing on it instead. They're made in Taiwan. Now you can tell this is a knockoff because you see on here, on there, and on there, it's completely smooth. Now what it should have on one side, it should say Browning M1910 on that side, and it should say, copyright Takara 1983 or whatever it is on that side. Because if you look at G1 Megatron, you can see he's got stamps all along there and on this side as well. So that's how you can tell it's a knockoff. They just wiped the information off the side, which is a pity, but it is what it is. So yeah, it's a gun, a little pistol, quite small, but you know, solid. It's got a working trigger. Has a projectile firing mechanism. It's pretty cool. Transformation of this thing is ridiculously simple. It is kind of similar to this, only not as complex. I mean, this guy is almost a simplified version of G1 Megatron in terms of its transformation. The legs are pretty much the same, but it's the way the torso and the arms work on this. Now, because this one has got, you know, like a concealed barrel, whereas Megatron has actually got a proper barrel that sticks out, it means that these bits here are fairly even and they can form the arms. Now, transformation on this is brilliant. Now, you have to be careful when you're transforming these because it clips together in the back here with two little clips on the back of the stock. So, to start off with, you sort of pull that bit out there, and then you go to the back and you pull the back bit out, and then now that releases it, and then you sort of pull that up, and then you turn it round, and there's basically the body, and you see the head is spring loaded in the middle and it pops up. But just turn that back for a second. Now the legs, you pull them down. Now one of them is quite loose, that one's quite loose, and this one is a bit tight. The first time I transformed this, I pulled his leg off. Oh jeez, this is tight. Come on. Oh, that's a bugger of a thing. Anyway, so then you just hinge the legs forward, and then you have the pull out the feet, and then he's got little metal heels that pop out. And you turn that round, and we're almost there. And then all you've got to do, you've got some parts forming on this guy. You've got the fists. You've got like a pegged fist which goes in this side, and then you've got the what I'm calling the bullet fist with the mushroom peg on it, which clips into this side, like so. And there we go. There's Browning in his robot mode. Now, like I said, when I was a kid, this was my G1 Megatron. He's a bit small. Let's do a quick size comparison. There he is next to Combiner Wars drag strip. So it's a like a small deluxe size. Articulation. The head just it's sprung. It goes up and down. The arms are on ratchets. They have like 4 main positions, but you can get them on intermediate positions. So you can go like that, like that, like that. So it's like 8 positions going round, and the same on the other side. Now he does kind of have a waist swivel, but then again that's part of the transformation, so it's a cheat. The legs, like G1 Megatron's legs, they're virtually the same design. You've got a little bit of rock backwards and forwards. You can sort of angle them in and out, which you sort of have to do to get him to stand up, because if you have him standing up like that, he sort of likes to fall over. And that's all there is with the legs. You've got a little bit of movement on the foot, I suppose, but basically forget it, waist down. And there he is. Now he comes with a gun. It should have came with 2 guns. These guys usually come with 2 identical guns, but Graham bought this a number of years ago off somebody else, and it came to him with only 1 gun, and he supplied it with the accessories that it came with. The only thing that Graham has done to this is he's applied some of the spare decal set, because he bought this one originally, but then he later bought the KO reissue that they did a couple of years ago. In what was it, 2013? They reissued this toy, had a limited reissue, the Browning M-1910, and it came in the blue colour, which is indicative of the Master Force toy, which was released in 1988. Which is the one that he wanted, so he bought that, and he's done a review of that. So again, go down below, look at my got some links to Graham Collective 75's 2 reviews he did of this particular toy and the other Browning that he bought. And it comes with a gun. The gun, obviously, it's got a 5mm peg, which actually does work in normal Transformers hands. So, yeah, that works. But it goes in his fist, and he also has 2 pegs on top of his shoulders where you can plug the guns on his shoulder as well. So that's all well and good. I suppose you'll want a size comparison with G1 Megatron, so you'll just have to give me a moment to transform it. Right, okay. G1 Megatron, and then Browning side by side. As you can see, he's quite a bit smaller. But his arms, Browning's arms, are far much better, I think, than G1 Megatron's arms. Because G1 Megatron's arms are on these stupid sort of links that are not really on his shoulders. They do give him some motion, but they're sort of out of position. But Browning's got proper shoulders with ratchet joints, and he works a lot better. So when I was a kid, like I said, this was my G1 Megatron, and I was more than happy with it. And I'm absolutely thrilled to get hold of one of these again, even though it's not an original one. It's a knockoff, but considering the prices you pay for an original one, I'm more than happy to accept this one, and the fact that it's got the red plastic rather than the blue. So yeah, there we go. One more down! I've only got like one more bot to get my old gang complete. One more sort of childhood grail bot, shall we say, and that's the knockoff Diaclone Starscream, the Kindam 06 Jet Robo. But I've got this. Oh, before I go, Graham the Collector 75, you'll probably noticed if you watch his review of this toy, you'll see that it came with a manufacturing fault. Now, what they'd done is they'd put the arms on back to front. I fixed it. It wasn't easy. Inside here, there's a little, you can probably see there's a little screw with a spring on it that works on the shoulder joint. Now, it's difficult to get a screwdriver in there to undo it, but you can, if you get a really small screwdriver, you can just about stick it in at an angle and undo it. So what I did was I unscrewed the arms, swapped them over, screwed them back in, and now his fists, his arms are on the correct side, because obviously this arm was over there and that arm was over here, which looked odd. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, his barrel arm is supposed to be on the right and his stock arm is supposed to be on the left, but it was the wrong way round. And obviously the fists didn't quite work. In order to get the fists around the right way, you had to you had to put a bit of tape around the peg to get it to stuff it into the opposite arm. But I fixed it now, and as you saw earlier, the firing mechanism now works perfectly. So yeah, fixed it. I'm over the moon to get hold of one of these. It's, even though it's, like I said, it's not an original bot, it still represents a toy that I had when I was a kid. And the Kindam knockoff is of a similar period of the original Takara one. It's around about sort of the mid-80s, so this is still a 30-year-old toy I've got in my hand. So even though it's a knockoff, it still works as an old gang bot. So yeah, that's it. Yep, I am absolutely overjoyed to get hold of this guy. Fantastic. Over the moon. Love it. Brilliant. So yeah, thank you to Graham the Collector 75 for selling me a piece of my childhood. Basically, you've made an adult collector very, very happy. Awesome. awesome. Yep, so that's been me, TFR Wilderness. Very, very happy. Old gang, baby! I'll see you all next time. Ta-ra.